Okay, Angela. I've read through your rough draft and I have a few suggestions that I'd like to make in order for your paper to be final copy ready. First off, a couple of just technical kind of formatting issues. Up here in the upper left-hand corner, your name is fine. Then you'll put Mrs. McKenna. You will then put EELA 3 and you'll end with the date. You do not need to put this Moby Dick here. Instead, you'll put 20 October 2014. And I need you to spell out October. So 20 October 2014 is the format that is correct for MLA. Up in the upper right hand corner, your last name will go on every page, and then you'll put the page number for each of the pages. So it would be last name first, or page 1, last name page 2, and so on throughout the course of the paper. As far as the title goes, rather than it being over here on the left, go ahead and center that in the middle of the page. Make sure that your title is interesting and draws the reader in, me, so that I know what it's going to be about, but so that it has a little flair. As far as your opening sentence, if you were in the meetings for face-to-face, you should have seen that I had given you a pretty specific way that I'd like for you to write the opening sentence. So I'm looking for something like, in his novel Moby Dick, Herman Melville demonstrated, and then you would say the dark side of American romanticism, including, and then you could say things like evil and insanity or whatever it is that you chose. You could also say, in the novel Moby Dick, Herman Melville demonstrates the dark side of romanticism, or in his, or how about Herman Melville, comma, in his novel Moby Dick, he demonstrates, and then you would say that. So I need something that has name of the author, name of the book, which you do have, but then also how does it relate to the dark side of romanticism. Your next couple of lines, 2 minimum, 3 maximum, should be a brief summary of the reading. So you start off okay. Moby Dick is about Captain Ahab sailing across oceans to find the whale who's responsible for his missing, and it should be leg, really. You don't necessarily need to put this 1830s, but you could say written in the 1800s. This novel is about the captain and his obsession with the whale, but also his failure to be honest about the original intent for the voyage. Something like that. I feel like you're adding a little bit of fluff when you add in this, and that left readers and off for generations. That doesn't necessarily pertain to the summary of the book. It's more just your own opinion, which I'm not necessarily looking for. Your thesis is pretty good. Herman Melville's use of diction, imagery, and symbolism in the novel Moby Dick is a basis for the evil that caused Ahab's destruction. That's pretty good, although what we're looking for is what Ahab thought of Moby Dick is that he's evil. So you may put something like, Herman Melville uses diction, imagery, and symbolism to show the reader that Moby Dick is evil in the eyes of Ahab. Something like that. Okay, for your next paragraphs, Melville uses diction to express the evilness of Moby Dick, and I would say through the eyes of Captain Ahab, because we want to make sure that we're not attributing the evil thoughts to Melville, but rather to Captain Ahab. You go through and you do a pretty good job of introducing your quotes, where you say Captain Ahab's feelings of Moby Dick as evil are illustrated through the words, I'll chase him around Good Hope and around the Horn and around the Norway Strom and around Perdition's Flame before I give him up. This is correct with your in-text citation. I would like to see, what does this mean? So then you go out and you would tell us that he's willing to go to great lengths, and that's pretty good. The place where you get flubbed up here is when you say, like in page 289, all of your in-text citations should follow the quotes directly and should not be introduced in the manner that you have. So like in page 289 should say something like, Ahab says, put your quote where that ends, then you would just put in parentheses 289 like you had done up here. You'll then go on to introduce the idea behind that or further explain what that quote means. So that essentially that you're saying that he believes that just like God would hunt us, we should hunt Moby Dick if we were guilty of whatever it was. Same thing here. Make sure your quote or your in-text citation is after your quote and is not introduced like in the page or like so and so. make sure you're doing that before your period, but after your quotations. The way you've done it up here is exactly right. Make sure you follow that throughout the piece. Imagery is used to describe how Moby Dick is this monster, is a monster. The idea of Moby Dick as evil is reinforced by the images, including this ellipses here. Is fine since you're starting it in the beginning or in the middle of a quote, but it's the idea of Moby Dick as evil is reinforced by the images. I'm game for his crooked jaw. Really, you don't need the I am game for, just his crooked jaw and for the jaws of death too. If those are the same quote, that's fine. If not, you need an ellipses between them. And then whosoever me raises a white-headed whale with a wrinkled brow and a crooked jaw, whosoever me raises that white-headed whale. That's all great. Again, you need your quotation marks because starboard fluke is the end of that, and then you should go on and explain. Okay. And then you talk about how powerful, that's all good, and then he thinks that that's why he can't forget about Moby Dick. Ahab symbolizes a man who got dragged down. So you're talking about symbols. But before you go into that, what I would suggest is you have a transition. So additionally, or in addition to the use of diction and imagery, Melville also uses symbolism to show Ahab a man who is dragged down with his own obsession. The quote thing is another issue here. You want to make sure that the in-text citation goes after your quote, just like you've done here. Okay, I'm looking for that. This is an issue here. The conclusion is a little bit, just a little bit rough. The power of darkness showed people that they're evil in the Sandinian world. Okay, that's fine. With Herman Melville's Moby Dick, he used diction, imagery, and symbolism to do what? So you want to make sure that this sentence is complete. It's sort of like a fragment right now. You want to make sure that you complete that. Anytime you're talking about the novel itself, you need to hyphenate it. And then your last thought is great about Ahab's obsession, but our baggage can drag us down just like Captain Ahab's obsession is just, again, superfluous. Make sure that you're ending the final thought with Ahab. You might say something like, and his obsession brought him to his ultimate demise, or something like that, rather than relating it back to the people. And you should avoid using first and second person anyway, so our wouldn't be able to be used, nor would us. All right, if you have any questions, let me know, and I will make myself available to explain anything that you don't understand. Have a great day. Bye-bye.